Hello, everybody. Just getting you all in here. Hello, hello. In middle. Hello. Someone is trying to call me right now, believe it or not. God love them. Don't try to call me right when I open up the webinar. Hey, I have beach hair today and a beach shirt on. I'm feeling kind of beachy. I figure we'll be doing a lot of talking today about what we're seeing happening in court. Beachy Keen, that's me, baby. I am headed to Vegas this weekend. Yee! My brother's renewing his vows, so I got suckered into doing family stuff, but I found just enough free time for me to go play. So yes, I will be heading to Vegas this weekend and partaking in my brother's renewal of his vows. I think it's an excuse to go to Vegas, but hey, I'm not complaining. Let's see, what else do I have going on? I can't look at my calendar while I'm on my phone. The first 2 weeks of October will be a little interesting. Legislation-wise, the only thing that I'm watching like a hawk this week, it's now sitting on Governor Newsom's desk about wage garnishments for landlord-tenant wage garnishments. Basically, the bill states if the tenant makes less than $42 an hour, we're not going to be able to garnish wages anymore. So with that being said, we may see our industry take a turn if this passes. Just saying. I can't control whether it's going to pass or not, but if it passes, this would mean that there is little to no recourse for landlords. Hang on, Arlene, I see you there. Yes, we can chat tonight. Call me at 6:30. I know you called me last night at 6:30, but in short, I had a storm brewing. I don't like to be challenged by tenants, but I was last night, unfortunately. I stood my ground and they are moving. So, hey, manipulation at its finest, right? Please don't make me do my job. I'm really good at it. I don't want to have to evict you. Remember that statement and make sure you say it soberly with concern. Okay? Please don't make me do my job. I'm really good at it. I don't want to have to evict you. Okay, that's your answer. Please don't make me do my job. I'm really good at it. I don't want to evict you. I know I keep repeating it, but I'm telling you, that statement right there of being completely humble, please don't make me do my job. It scares the crap out of them. Okay, so use it. Use it, utilize it. It is really hot in the room that I'm in, and I'm kind of like in a gauze beach because I was trying to stick with the beachy theme because I'd rather be at the beach than at the office today. But now that I'm in this room, I'm regretting it. It's hot in here. I got a fan blowing on me, but it's blowing hot air. I sound like a tenant with no air conditioning. I know. I know. I'm sorry. All right, you guys, we are going to talk about whatever you guys need. Okay, good, Arlene. No problem. Thank you. Victor, you got something for me. What do you got? Hi, Victor. I have a 2-unit in Sherman Oaks. Oh no, Sherman Oaks. And the tenant used the carport and put one gym and the other put a table and chairs. Can I tell them to give me the carport to put my car in there? They have been my tenant for 5 years. No, but you can tell them that a carport is not for personal storage. It's for parking your vehicle and not a place where they can keep their personal storage items. So if they're storing bulky furniture items in their parking space in the carport, I would notify them that they can't do that. That isn't a place for storage other than a vehicle. And storing their personal items in the carport is not allowed. They need to either put them within their unit or open a local storage unit for storage, not in the apartment. Does that make sense? I hope that that makes sense. Stacy, I see you got on here. I just want to know, did he stay or did he go? We don't have to get into depth and breadth. Or do you need me to help him go? That's all I want to know, Stacy, when you have a minute. You're probably on the phone or something. Sure, no problem. And I'd look at your written rental contract. It probably has something about the storage of personal items outside of the unit. But I'd let them know that you can't have them storing furniture there. That's not a place for storage. That's a place for a vehicle, and code enforcement isn't going to allow it. Then it's not you telling them. My contract is very bad. Oh, good Lord. Okay, send it over to me. Let me look at it and I'll tell you. You could probably get them on the storage unit of personal items, most likely. But if you want me to look at it, I'd be more than happy to review the contract and then come up with a plan of action for you. The weird way I work. Anytime. You guys are all awesome. I wouldn't be able to do this without you. Oh, thank you.
Patty, a quick question, Patty. Now that you talk about carports and all that, code enforcement came and, you know, among other things, they sent me a picture of one of my tenants' motorcycle chained to the column of the carport behind where they park. Now, how do I handle this? That I have to make sure that he parks inside the carport, or he's not allowed to chain it there, even though it's on nobody's way? I mean, how do I handle that?
If you want to store a vehicle within your carport, you need to store it within your carport, not on the exterior of the carport.
Okay, so what he's doing is not correct. I have to send him a notice, bottom line. Thank you.
No problem. And if you need help with verbiage, send me a picture of your rental agreement. You'd be shocked what I can conjure up out of a rental agreement. I'm pretty creative.
Thank you, Patty.
No problem, anytime. I wish I could teach you guys how to do that, but you have to know the terms of the rental agreement or be able to understand them in a way that benefits you. And sometimes they're written in legal terms. So I don't even know where I'd start to educate you guys. If I could teach you one thing today about legalities, let me teach you this. Look and see if your lease contract or your rental agreement, whatever it may be, has a waiver clause in it. What I learned about a waiver clause is pretty interesting, okay? Let's say that your tenant pays the rent late and they start paying the rent late every month and they pay it about the 7th instead of on the 1st when it's due, okay? And you keep collecting it that way. If you don't have a waiver clause in your written contract, you just rewrote the rules of when the rent's due. Paying attention? That's what a waiver clause is. It says, just because I waived it last time doesn't mean I'm going to do it going forward. So a lot of times when a professional management company takes over a property, the first thing I do is serve them with a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy to revert back to the original terms of the written contract. That way, whatever was waived, okay, during the course of the tenancy before I took over management is going to all be exonerated in 30 days, and we're going back to the written terms of the rental agreement. That way I can enforce the terms of the rental agreement without worrying if the landlord has waived something. Does that make sense? So usually when I pick up a new property and I'm managing it and the landlord says, here's my problem and here's my rental agreement, the first thing I do is make sure that they're on a month to month and we're no longer in a term. And I immediately serve a 30-day notice, a change of terms of tenancy to revert back to the original written terms of the contract. That way, anything that was said or agreed to orally that I know nothing about is now gone and off the table in 30 days. And I have a fresh, clean slate with the written lease agreement or rental agreement. So it's a tip and trick that we use as property managers to give us a nice, clean slate. Even in LARSO, when I take over a property, it's one of the first things I do. And in LARSO, it's hard to change the original terms. All parties have to sign and agree. So it can create some hiccups in there, if you will, but it lets everybody know you're following the written rules of the contract. I don't care what's been waived in the past. We have to follow the written rules of the contract. So as long as all parties agree, in LARSO, that's the biggest thing, is all parties have to agree. So in LARSO, it's how you sell it. I was reviewing the new rental contract as your new property manager, checking out the contract and realizing that this contract's a little outdated and doesn't have all the verbiage that helps protect you, the tenant. So in order to bring your contract current, I would suggest that we sit down and sign a new lease contract together so that we can go over the terms and I can answer any questions that you might have. Following along? So it's all in the presentation, in the manipulation, in the sleight of hand. Don't look over here while I'm doing this because I'm doing this over there. Make sense? So in RSO, yeah, I will sit them down and say, we need to write a new contract because the one that's in place doesn't protect you, the tenant. It doesn't have all the new disclosures regarding bed bugs and regarding the statewide rent control that was initiated through AB 1482. And there's a lot of disclosures in here that this contract's actually missing. So it would benefit you most if we upgraded that for you. Now I'm the tenant's best friend and not the mean old landlady. And use your fogging techniques. If they back you into a corner that you don't know the answer to, you need to respond with, thank you for bringing that to my attention. I'll let my legal counsel know and get back to you. I know that I repeat these things to you until I am blue in the face, but a lot of times you guys, the tenant just called me and they said this, this, and this. And I'm like, and did you say to them, thank you for letting me know? I'll let my property manager know, or my legal counsel, or my business partner, or whoever's name you want to throw out there, okay? It buys you time. Use it, utilize it. Okay. When you don't know what to say, don't just get angry and start running verbal vomit in their general direction. It's not healthy for your business. Okay. Verbal vomit is bad, real bad, especially when you're pissed. My swamp cooler's been leaking at one of my rentals. Apparently it's been leaking for several years because I just had to pay to have my roof redone. I'm not a happy girl today. That bill's gonna suck. And at the end of the day, it still needs a new float and a new overflow pan under my swamp cooler on my roof. So you know all these hidden expenses that we all bitch and complain about? I get them too, just so you know. You are not alone. Have yourself a nice group of vendors that you like to work with and utilize them, okay? And anytime you take over a property, it's a good idea to revert back to the original terms of the written contract. So you, the property manager, know what the rules are. All right, I heard somebody having a question. What you got?
Patty, I have a questions. One of the tenant, the property is large though, and one of the tenant, I believe, I mentioned that to you a long time ago that she used, the residential apartment for the dog sitting business. And right now, we have the eviction process. And the attorney, said, I should end the rent payment, and which I did with apartment.com. But I think the tenant keep bugging me and asking, that she wants to pay the rent for this month. Even though I told her, like the lawyer already advised me not to accept any rent payment.
Do you know why?
I know we're not supposed to accept any rent because the eviction, correct?
If you accept rent, you void the eviction unless you're in a commercial situation and it is a commercial tenancy, not a residential tenant.
Okay, so what should I say to her then? It's because she keep bugging me.
We're not accepting rent. We are seeking possession. You need to evict.
So I need to say it like that. Okay, that's good.
And if you don't want to say anything to her, give her the phone number for your attorney and tell her, I can't talk to you about this. You need to talk to my legal team. That way you don't say the wrong thing.
I see. Okay.
Okay. And I'll tell you this right now. This is not the only law firm I've worked in. Okay. None of them want their employees talking to tenants. They instruct them to hang up on them rather rudely. I try not to do that to your tenant when they call the law firm. What I say to them is, I'm so sorry, but we represent landlords here, not tenants. So I'm not able to advise you. You may want to contact the court to get legal counsel. So even though I'm telling you to tell your tenant to call your attorney's not going to talk to them. They're going to hang up on them. They're going to tell them to go find their own counsel. They're going to tell them to kick rocks. We can't advise someone that isn't our client and it's the enemy. Okay. All I can tell them is, well, your owner's seeking possession. And if you want this eviction to go away, you could move out as soon as possible. Okay. But for the most part, any of you guys, whoever your attorney is, I guarantee you, even though they're telling you, have them call us, they're not going to talk to them. They're going to tell them, I'm sorry, I can't help you. We represent your landlord. We don't talk to tenants in the industry. We represent landlords strictly. So then it gets frustrating for you because your tenant will say, I called them 6 times and they just hang up on me. That's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to hang up on them. They're going to tell them we can't help them, but at least they're not bugging you. Understand?
Okay. Yes.
Pass the buck, baby.
Okay, thank you. Let me write it back to them like that. Thank you.
And you guys can always do that. Anytime you're in legal, anytime you don't know what to say, if you're in an eviction and they're trying to give you the rent, she wants to give her the rent to avoid the eviction. Okay, it dismisses everything as soon as she takes a penny. So that's why she's pushing so hard for it.
Okay.
What is AB 802? I don't know. I haven't looked at it yet. Is it a new one? I know it's not the one saying that we can't garnish wages in landlord tenant situations unless they make more than $42 an hour, because that one's 1142 or 1172. I'm watching it. I don't remember it off the top of my head right now, but I don't know what 804 is. Yeah, you got to get me going. Something about energy. Oh, good God. Here comes another one, gruesome Newsome. What are you going to do to us next? I'd have to look at it. Is it the one that says that we have to provide electronic vehicle charging stations for tenants? Because I know there's one about that. No, but that one's coming. Oh, I know. They've already insisted. We already have some laws in place that say that if a tenant requests an electronic vehicle station, we have to allow them to make the modification to the property. because it'll benefit the landlord in the long run because more and more tenants will be utilizing these features. Bullshit. It's a request for reasonable accommodations. And I say the tenant has to pay for that upgrade, not the landlord. And that's probably why they're rewriting the law, because the way that it's written right now, the tenant has to pay for that upgrade. They're trying to make it so that the landlord has to pay. I mean, let's be honest. Everything they want the landlord to pay for.
It's going to be very hard to do that in old building with all the panels.
I completely and totally understand. Completely and totally understand. It's not just the hardest thing we have to do. We're looking at the retrofitting, you guys. That date is coming up on us quickly. We have to have all of our units that have balconies or elevated walkways. So porches that are upstairs or staircases that are on the exterior of a property, not inside a home, outside. So balcony and exterior staircases and walkways need to be inspected by a structural engineer on or before January 25th. No, January 1st of 2025. Sorry, I'll get it out of my blonde brain in a minute. It'll come out right eventually. So that day is going to come up on us quickly, you guys. We're already in 22. We got 3 years to get this done, but those 3 years come by extremely quickly. So please be aware of that requirement going forward. Where is all this electricity coming from? Well, I just heard that they want to take the California aqueducts, and this makes so much sense, and they want to cover it to help the water from evaporating in all those areas as it's going through, but they want to cover it with solar panels. I think it's a great idea. We'll have less people that fall into the canal in error and drowned. We'll have less people that fish alongside of those canals. I think that might just be a really good suggestion to a problem because it kills 2 birds with 1 stone. A tenant wants new flooring. He is offering to pay half of upgraded laminate planks versus carpet. How does that work out paperwork wise? He may want to purchase this house eventually, but I'm not sure. Does the house need new flooring? I mean, you know better than I do. You've seen it. You know when you replaced carpet last. Lifespan on carpet, according to the Department of Consumer Affairs, is 5 years, 7 years on upgraded carpet. So if he wants to pay for half of the laminate planks versus carpet, I'd do it. It's an upgrade to your property and somebody else is going to pay half the bill. But we need to take in consideration how much is his rent, when was the last time his rent was raised, yada, yada, yada. You want to pass those expenses on to the tenant. I can guess if they make us retrofit buildings, they can upgrade electrical, which is costly. I understand and I agree, but they're making us retrofit buildings. You're getting it. You're understanding. Per Mr. Google. Thank you, Andrea. AB 802 is a statewide requirement for California building owners to benchmark their building's energy usage and report it to the state of California, known as an energy benchmark. The state will then publish this data online so that owners can see how each building compares to its peers. You know, they want to put a whole bunch of solar panels out in the middle of the desert. Manzanar, to be exact. Why not put them on all the houses that are using the electricity? And why ruin our beautiful flat areas with solar parks? Just saying. I like this idea of covering the aqueducts with solar panels. Kills two birds with one stone. I'm trying to be careful of what I say, because part of what's going on in our state that I'm aware of, I'm personally not happy about. And I'll just say it like it is. So do I want to voice my opinion on here today? I don't know if you guys know this. I spend a lot of time in the Sierra Nevada mountains. Part of my family lives in that area. My sister's a forest ranger up there. I know where all the good fishing holes are. Okay, I love to go up to the Sierras. Back in the 1940s, I think it was. Maybe it was the 50s. I'm not sure on the exact date, but I could find out if it's pressing somewhere. The county of LA went up to the Sierras and bought all the water rights. So when you're up in the Sierra Nevada, running through the town of Bishop is a little area called Bishop Creek. It is the starting of the aqueduct that feeds the city of LA and the county of Los Angeles their water. I forget the dollar amount that the city or the county of Los Angeles purchased the water rights coming out of the Sierras. But it was a ridiculous amount of money. It was pennies in today's market, okay? But they have the water rights forever, the way that it was written. And I don't like that. I get it, but I don't get it. And yeah, to see them draining the lakes at altitude to comply with the water that's being fed to the Los Angeles basin is sickening. I mean, some of those lakes up there that they pull water from are below dam level. We need rain, we need snow, and we need it bad.
I have a question, Patty.
Yes.
This is for Stockton, California. We just heard that they're going to be where like owners will have to pay for all of the utilities. Is this true? And will this be moving into other areas?
I don't see it moving into San Bernardino County anytime soon. Okay.
Okay.
I don't see that moving into LA County anytime soon. It's something that they're just doing in Stockton to get things going. And that will be their crash test dummy, if you will. And between you, me, and the wall, all it's going to do is drive up the price of rents like nobody's business. And they're already way above market value in a false sense of market. So every action has a reaction. Every cause has a reaction. So we're going to sit back, wait, and watch the show. But yes, I do know exactly what you're speaking of. I did hear about this myself. We'll see how it plays out. If I had to guess, I'd say that it's not going to go much further because it's not going to fly. It's not going to work. Landlords are going to forget to pay a water bill. Water's going to get shut off. Tenants are going to cry habitability. Why is the tenant responsible for electric bill when electricity follows the tenant? I mean, the landlord, it doesn't follow the landlord, it follows the tenant. So an electric bill should not be tied to the property. And we already have some of these provisions in place right now. I'll give you an example. Sewers usually put on a landlord's tax bill, sewer expenses, right? So who pays that? The landlord does, not the tenant. Water, the tenant could be responsible for that. But if they don't pay their bill, landlord is ultimately responsible. And that may be what they're trying to do in Stockton. When I looked into it, is they're trying to make the landlord ultimately responsible for the unpaid utility bills. Yeah, the water, I could see them doing that because they want to sink their teeth into deeper pockets than a tenant has. So I know why the water company does it. I get why the trash company does it. But if they're going to put that on the electric and the gas, this is going to become a whole new industry for us. So I don't think that's going to go very far. And that's just my opinion.
Patty, I have a question.
Yes.
This is San Bernardino County as well. And so I have a fourplex and one of the tenants has been terrorizing the next door neighbor. Example, cutting their internet cord. At one point, he put a water hose in her window. Yes, and flooded her home. We informed the tenant that we need police reports, documentation. She finally brought that to me yesterday. So I just want to make sure with that document, is that enough, you think, to terminate tenancy? He's, disturbing her peaceful living and all that good stuff.
He put a water hose in her window and turned it on.
Correct, and flooded her home.
And is she also your tenant?
Yes.
He needs a 3-day notice to quit immediately. He's creating a nuisance. He's affecting the right to quiet enjoyment. He's destroying private property. You want me to keep going?
I think you said enough. I just needed confirmation. Thank you.
I'm like, let me see the lease agreement. I'll find 5 more things he's doing wrong.
Right. Thank you.
You guys see how my brain works? She's telling me a problem and I'm immediately telling her all of the issues that she's going to find that in her lease. You're affecting the right to quiet enjoyment for neighboring residents. You're destructing personal property. You're destructing private property. You're destructing real property. You are a nuisance on the premises. So that's the way my brain works. I immediately, when you guys start telling me something, and I know that she uses car forms for the most part. You're on car forms, right?
Yes.
So I can almost tell you verbatim what her contract says. I don't know, my brain works in weird ways. I see pictures of things and they stay there in my brain. But I can't always pull it back out of that filing cabinet when I need it. Damn it, it sucks. Who is paying for that damage? That tenant would be responsible for the damage she caused. So any flooding that went onto that unit, any repairs that you had to pay due to him stuffing the garden hose in her window and turning it on, that all falls on him. All those expenses. That's why I asked if there was a police report. That's why she piped up there was a police report. That's going to help us document what is happening. Sometimes let me rephrase this. Sometimes your legal counsel will tell you to call the police just so we have it documented on public record. Does that make sense? Sometimes your legal counsel will say something along the lines of, well, I'm sure glad you don't have a code enforcement violation because that would make this even worse. What they really mean is go violate yourself with code enforcement because that letter is going to help you get them out. Curious what the police did, if they did anything. Okay, so Val wants to know if the police did anything for them, stuffing a garden hose in her window and turning it on. Because I could tell you right now, they're going to say it's a civil matter because civilly he could be sued for the damages he caused.
Correct. That's what's noted on her documentation. She finally got a restraining order against the guy. Apparently this has been going on for quite some time, even before we started, but everything is documented that she told us. And the first thing they said was it was a civil matter and she needed to, take further action, which she finally did. So.
Well, it sounds like that civil matter concocting in a plan to get him out.
Definitely.
Yes, go conjure up a plan. If you need help, call me. But it's funny when you guys ask me questions about forms. I'm very familiar with car forms, and usually I can ask you what the date is at the bottom so that I know when it was distributed. And I could tell you, I think what you're looking for is on page 7, item 48 or 32 or whatever. So I have this weird way of remembering contracts and what they say. I also know AOA's contract verbatim and AGLA's contract verbatim and California Apartment Association verbatim. So I just need to know when it was issued. And for the most part, I can point you in the right direction as to what page and what clause you're looking for. 9 times, maybe 8 times out of 10, I can pinpoint it exactly. Oh, what you're looking for is in paragraph 18, page 6. So it just depends. It's weird, I know. It's weird. But do you think I can remember important things? Yes. His renter's insurance would be what I was calling. So if your tenant happened to be listed with an insurance policy as a requirement of their tenancy, and you listed as additional insured or interested party, you would be able to open a claim or file a claim on their behalf for the damage they caused. See how that worked? Yes, all of my rentals, I am listed as additional insured or interested party on their policy. I know. What can I say? It's the best way I can protect me. But renter's insurance would be a good way to offset those expenses so that you don't have to eat it yourself as the landlord. Does anybody have anything else pressing they want to discuss? Somebody told me they were unable to find the unincorporated list of cities in LA County. It's there. You didn't look right. You're looking for a PDF file. It's got 144 cities on it. It's just a simple list in alphabetical order. So it is up there if you Google it that way. If you absolutely cannot find it, call me. I will email you over a copy of my list, or email me and I will email you a copy of my list. They have a weird city on here, Veterans Administrative Center. I don't know what city that is, but apparently it's an unincorporated city in LA County. I think it's a typo. Veterans Administration Center. So apparently if that's in LA County, it's unincorporated LA County. I think it's a typo, but I don't know. And then just want to remind you guys, if you do have an unincorporated, if you do have a property in the unincorporated cities of LA County, you have until the end of this month to register them with RSO. RSO spread like cancer, in case you weren't paying attention, and infected every single one of the unincorporated cities in LA County. Okay. So those cities now are governed by LARSO. Paying attention? You must register your units by the end of this month, September 30th. Just trying to make sure everybody's paying attention. And in case somebody asked, I brought my long laundry list of 144 cities. So if you wanted to know if your property was on it, I could answer that question for you. I get asked that a lot. Is my city on that list? Hold on, let me look. So I brought my list in with me today, just in case. Does anybody have anything else pressing that they want to talk about? I will tell you guys, if you are currently in an eviction and you are in LA County, start talking to your legal counsel about settlement agreement as soon as possible. You want to get your property back ASAP. The quicker we get them out, the faster you can recover and stop the bleeding that's going on financially, okay? Fight for them in small claims court for the money they owe you. Just get your house back right now. That's the big thing. Get your house back right now. Forget the money. Let it go. I don't believe Lawndale's on it. It was unincorporated for a long time and they went off the sheriff. But now I don't think Lawndale runs off the sheriff anymore. Hang on. Lake Hughes, Lake Los Angeles, Lakeview, Lang, Las Venegas, Malibu Canyon, La Crescenta. No, it's not on here. Lenox, Leona Valley, Little Rock, Longview. Nope, no Lawndale. You must have incorporated. Because I remember when Lawndale ran off the sheriff's department. So apparently now they have a city hall and they became incorporated and have their own police department. Because they're not on the unincorporated list that is now governed by RSO. See, I told you I keep that list handy because I get asked all the time, is blah, blah, blah on that list? I don't know. I carry it with me sometimes. I need to carry it more often. It's getting really hot where I'm sitting. I know I shouldn't complain too much, but today I'm in San Bernardino, so I know it's in triple digits out there and I could feel it. I'm not a happy camper. So I'd like to get out of this room as soon as possible. So if anybody has anything else they want to ask me before this weekend hits, let's get to it.
Patty, you want to talk about renters insurance in general?
Yeah, I can talk about renters insurance in general. I make it a requirement on my lease contracts that my tenants have renters insurance, and I'm listed as additional insured or interested party on their policy. Not all policies will allow someone else to be listed as additional insured or interested party. Seems to work, but the additional insured sometimes is a little tricky. And a lot of insurance companies won't allow it. If they don't allow it, then they don't allow it. Don't panic, okay? They may still allow you to be listed as an interested party, and you want that. What that does is it notifies you if the policy is going to be canceled for non-payment or anything along those lines. And then that would instruct you to serve a 3-day curable breach of covenant to your tenant for their policy being expiring or not renewing or whatever the issue may be. So it helps keep you in the loop there. As an interested party or additional, I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. As an additional insured, you can file a claim for them. So as a property management company, managing property for profit, let's say I manage your property. I would want to be listed on your homeowner's insurance as additional insured or interested party. Because in the event you go out of the country and go to Spain for a month and something happens at your property, I, as your property manager, want to help protect your best interest and your asset to the best of my ability. So I would then file a claim on your behalf and open the claim and get the claim started for you. As an additional insured, I have that right. Are you guys paying attention yet? So in the event your tenant got pissed off and busted out all the windows of your apartment unit in a fit of rage, you could call their insurance company and open the claim as an additional insured. Is this clicking? Is this making sense? When the tenant needs to be relocated because your hot water heater burst and it's going to take 2 weeks to get the new part in, technically and legally, you can't charge them rent. That's a habitability issue, right? Now you got to pay to put them in a hotel. You got to give them a rent credit. You got to give them a laundry credit. You got to give them a food credit. Their insurance company covers it. You hit the easy button. Oh, call your renter's insurance. They'll put you up. Renter's insurance puts them up. I always agree to pay the deductible. It's usually $50 or something along those lines. It's not like a homeowner where it's $5,000. The deductible on a renter's insurance policy is usually about $50, give or take. So as a courtesy, I also pay that so that they don't have to. I didn't have to find them a hotel. I didn't have to pay for it. I didn't have to pay for their meals. I don't have to pay for their incidentals. The insurance company took care of everything. So when things go badly as a property manager or as a landlord, if the tenant has insurance, hit the easy button. because it's gonna be easy from here. So I've had instances where the tenant is called to hire a cable TV, and the cable installer fell through the attic and into the living room onto the couch. Yes, the cable TV installer will fix all that damage, but in the event I have to file an insurance claim, I'm gonna file it with the tenant's insurance because they hired them to come out there, not the landlord. Okay, tenant's insurance is extremely inexpensive. It's not like landlord's insurance, but it does cover them like a landlord, okay? Covers them for liability, covers them for intentional damage, accidental loss. We can go on and on and on about what it covers for them, but it's cheap. It's like 15 bucks a month and covers them for up to $200,000 worth of coverage. How do I sell insurance to a tenant? I do it at lease signing. I let you know before you moved in here that you have to have renter's insurance. Now you're going to sign to it and I need to be listed as additional insured on your property. I'll give you 3 days to set that up. After 3 days, I'm going to serve you a notice you're in violation of your contract. So you want to make sure that you get that done right away. It's fairly inexpensive, maybe 2 less trips to Starbucks a month. Whoever your auto insurance is, see if they also cover renter's insurance, because then you'll get a multi-policy discount and it will be even less expensive for you. So that's how I sell it to a tenant. And they'll say, oh, I don't need renter's insurance. I always tell them the landlord's insurance covers the building. It doesn't cover your couch or your TV. And we've all flown somewhere and lost our luggage before. Your renter's insurance covers your personal belongings wherever you go. So if you fly to New York and the airlines loses your luggage with your laptop and your Rolex in there, your renter's insurance covers that. Okay, so that's how I sell it to a tenant so that they're like, oh, I need this. They do need it. It does help protect them. At one point in my life, I was a tenant. I was a renter. I had renter's insurance. We got evacuated from fire. Okay. At the time, I happened to live in Big Bear. And this was during the old fire years ago. What, 20 years ago? God, I sound old. I called my insurance company and told them I was being evacuated. They said, don't worry about anything. Go where you feel safest. We'll reimburse you. Go get a hotel. I went to the beach. That's where I felt most safe. If you guys remember during the time of the old fire, we had Big Bear area on fire. San Diego was on fire. We had like 7 fires burning everywhere. So I went to the beach. That's where I felt the most safe. I'm a beach brat. What can I say? My insurance company paid for my hotel. They paid for my meals. They paid for my kids' meals. I was out for a week. So what did I do? I went shopping. I found a new comforter set for my bed. The insurance company said, oh, send us the receipts for that because we see it as you needed a blanket while you were out of your house. You mean I can go buy all my kids' school clothes and you'll pay me back? Yep, that's how this works. Okay. Renter's insurance is awesome to a tenant. It helps them. And one of the other things that it covers, and this has happened to all of us at some point or another in our life, and we know about it, so we can talk about it. You ever had your car broken into? They steal the stereo out of the dashboard, they break your window, and then they took a bunch of other stuff out of your car, your jacket, a backpack full of clothes, I don't know, whatever it is. And your insurance company says, we cover the window and the stereo, but your personal belongings, your car insurance doesn't cover that. But your renter's insurance does. That's another way you sell it to a tenant, because we've all had a car broken into and we've all heard, no, we don't cover that. Your renter's insurance does, covers your personal belongings wherever you go. So even in the moving van, if someone breaks into your moving van while you're moving from one property to another, your renter's insurance covers your personal belongings wherever you go. So it's a great way to sell it to a tenant. I hope that answered your questions in regards to insurance. If I didn't hit yours, let me know. I'll hit it again. We had a tenant who stopped paying renter's insurance. I didn't want to start an eviction over it. It was during COVID, too late now. Again, I don't want an eviction or a vacancy right now. No, but now that COVID's over, you can serve them a 3-day curable breach of covenant that they're in violation of their written rental agreement because they don't have insurance. You may find in that moment when you serve the notice that they went with a different policy, have a new policy now, and you just aren't on that policy and you're unaware of it. So just serving them the notice, reminding them that they need to do that, very important. One of my tenants who lived since 1990, who has lived since 1990, refuses to get renter insurance. The property's in Larso. What should I do? Can't do anything. You guys both got to agree if it's in Larso, or you can't make the change to the contract and you can't enforce it if they don't agree to it. Larso sucks, you guys, just so you know. What it says is you can't change the terms of the contract unless all parties agree. So to implement an insurance clause at this point, your tenant would have to sign and agree to it. As a tenant, I wouldn't sign and agree to it, so I don't know why they would. And you wouldn't either. Come on. Wait, you want me to spend more money every month? You want me to sign and agree to that? I'm not doing it. In LARSO, inception is your best friend to get all of your documents done, all of your addenda done, and anything and everything you can think of to protect you has to happen at inception. Otherwise, both parties must mutually agree. Does renters insurance coverage damage? Hold on. I didn't eat yet, and apparently I need more caffeine. Does renters insurance cover damage to walls and plumbing? It could if the tenant did that damage. Does that make sense? In other words, and I'll give you a great example where an insurance company covered it. A tenant called maintenance when water was running out of their front door. Why was water running out their front door? Because the makeshift water disbursement contraption that they MacGyvered together out of a Hot Wheels track and duct tape to take the water from the cracked toilet tank they just broke and divert it into the bathtub. That really happened. A tenant sat back on the toilet too hard this way on the tank, and the tank cracked with a stress crack, and water started pouring out of it. And instead of reaching down and turning off the stop and waste valve right there by the toilet, you know, the supply line, I don't think it's called a stop and waste. Hold on, and the name will come to me. Angle stop. It's an angle stop. It's that valve right next to the toilet. Instead of the tenant turning off the water supply right then and there, they got some duct tape and a Hot Wheels track and shoved it in the toilet and duct taped it to the toilet and tried to make the Hot Wheels track come around and go down into the bathtub. So it would come out of the toilet and go down into the bathtub to drain. When they couldn't MacGyver it themselves and water started coming out of the front door, they figured they needed to call maintenance. So the insurance company covered everything. That was tenant caused damage. It fixed the plumbing, the toilet that they broke, because it comes with liability. Renters insurance comes with liability, folks. So it covered the toilet, it covered the carpet and the padding, and I think the tenant's dresser or some wooden object, it could have been a dresser, a chair, I don't know. It got warped in the water damage, and it covered that too, because it was a tenant's renter's insurance. So it covered the damages and the personal property damage by the tenant's negligence. Got it? Kern County, can I send a 30-day change of tenancy to require renter's insurance on all tenants who don't have it? Absolutely. 30-day notice to change the terms of tenancy. Tenants must provide renter's insurance with landlord listed as additional insured or interested party no later than blank date, 30 days. Okay. And then if they don't do it, it would be a 3-day curable. Does anybody have anything else? I'm really cooking. I'm turning into a patty melt. It's gotta be 105 degrees in this words. In this. What kind words can I say to old tenants who have never had insurance? It's the best way to protect themselves. It's the best way to protect them. What if the landlord's pipe breaks and floods the unit and it takes out their TV, their couch, their dining room table, just everything destroyed? Landlord's insurance isn't going to cover your personal belongings, but your renter's insurance would, and it only costs you about $15 a month. If you have to file a claim, your deductible is like $50 and you're covered for like $200,000 worth of stuff. Look at the fires going on right now. In the event we had a wildfire here in California, those never happen, right? Look at Big Bear right now. Look at Hemet. Okay, just saying. Their renter's insurance pays for everything. I know. I've tried it before. It works. It pays you for more than what you think. Insurance is your friend. And if you can't get listed as additional insured, then be listed as additional. I'm sorry. If you can't get listed as additional insured, try to get listed as interested party. Interested party is what notifies you if they're going to be canceled for non-payment or something along those lines. Do you have a document or a source for a change of rules regarding garage storage and or exterior storage? It would be a 30-day notice of change of terms of tenancy, and any apartment association or legal law firm can supply you with said document. I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you're not a member of an apartment association, you need to be one. That's where you get all of your documents, your 3-day pay renter quit, your cure quit, your lease documents, all your addenda, any notice that you'd ever want to serve the tenant. Your apartment association gives them to you as part of your membership. I'm a big spokesperson for AGLA, which is the Apartment Association of Greater Los Angeles. They do an awesome job. I do a lot of teaching with them. Their advisors are spot on. Yeah, get involved with an apartment association. It's also how you stay in the know of the new rules, the new laws that are affecting us, what changes are being made. All right, Arlene, I'll get it out. Call me tonight about 6:30 or so. It's perfect. The rental agreement says the tenant will pay the late fee if they don't pay the rent at the latest the 5th day of the month. She does pay the rent on the 5th day, but apartment.com will process several days and will deposit it into the bank account on the 10th day. Is that okay? The property's in LA RSO. If the rent's due on the 1st and she has a grace period until the 5th, the 5th is when a late fee applies, not with when the rent is due. Paying attention? So technically, if your rent's due on the 1st and considered late after the 5th, you can serve a 3-day notice to pay rent or quit on the 2nd when rent is delinquent. The grace period has to do with when the late fee is applied to the account, not with when your rent is due. Understand? Rent is due on the 1st, and they have until the 5th as a grace period before what? Before a late fee applies. But technically, the rent is delinquent on the 2nd, and you can serve a 3-day notice on the 2nd. You don't have to wait until the 6th. The 6th is when a late fee applies. Has nothing to do with the rent being due. Got it? Thank you, Anna. Thank you, everybody. It's just really hot in here and I'm not wearing the best shirt for that. And I literally have a fan on my feet and it is blowing hot air all over me. I'm melting. Sound like the Wicked Witch. I'm melting. It's hot. I'm just curious how hot it is today. Can we charge late fees now? Stacy, hang on, because you're in LA County. Hold on. I wouldn't put a late fee on a late fee, but I never put a late fee on top of a late fee. And I'll explain that in a minute. In incorporated cities of LA County, you absolutely can charge late fees now. I want to say in unincorporated cities of LA County, you can also charge late fees right now, but I wouldn't enforce them. In other words, I wouldn't evict someone because they didn't pay a late fee. That you're stretching if you do that. But put it on their account, they owe it. Incorporated cities, LA County, absolutely. All other counties of LA or of California other than Los Angeles, absolutely. That one's in San Bernardino, charge a late fee all day long and twice on Sundays. I don't really mean that though. Late fee, if it applies on the 5th, then it applies on the 5th. You can do it right now in Orange County, San Diego County, Kern County, Inyo County, San Bernardino County, Ventura County, everywhere but LA. LA, I would do it in unincorporated city, or I'm sorry, in incorporated cities, I'd absolutely charge a late fee. In unincorporated cities, right now, I would charge the late fee, but I wouldn't evict for it. In other words, if they didn't pay the late fee, I wouldn't put a late fee on top of a late fee, and I wouldn't evict for non-payment of late fee in LA County. You'd be a fool right now with all the COVID protections. We're in San Bernardino, Orange, Riverside, and LA counties. I want to charge them a late fee if they are late only. Well, yeah, only if they're late can you charge a late fee. But I do it in every county. In LA County, I do it across the board, but I wouldn't enforce it in LA County. Everywhere else, I'd enforce it. People ask me all the time, have you ever evicted somebody for weird things? I evicted somebody on Section 8 for $12. That's me. I'm that girl. She was 3 months behind. I evicted her for $12. Her portion was $4 a month. I won. I have evicted people for not paying their bed bug exterminator expenses and won. I've evicted people for breaking a window and not paying for that and won. So it just pick and choose your battle. And here's me talking to you. I don't go to eviction unless I know I'm going to win. I don't do anything with a 50-50 shot. It's if I want a 50-50 odds, I'll go put it on red in Vegas. Okay. But when it comes to my investment property, 50-50 odds are not good enough for me. That's too much risk without reward.
Patty,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Regarding bed bugs, in some situations, even though the tenant
David, where'd you go? Am I the only person that can't hear David anymore? Where'd he go?
Larso, I'm not so sure.
Okay, I missed everything you heard. I said, I have a tenant, and then I heard in Laura, so I'm not sure.
Okay, well, what I'm saying, in some situations, regardless of who brought the bed bug, even though you can
I lost him again. David, we lost you. You must be driving or moving around in your house because I can't hear you.
or am I mistaken?
David, the problem is I get the very first part of your question and then you cut out and then I get at the very end, or am I mistaken?
Okay, one last time, I say in some situations, regardless of whose fault it is, landlord has to pay for the bed bug, even though the tenant brought the bed bug. I think it was either if the tenant is a Section 8 or a LARSO, regardless of whose fault it is, landlord has to pay. Something like in California. Yeah, go ahead.
landlord has to pay regardless, no matter what state, what county or what city you're in. It's if the tenant brought them in, can we charge it back to them?
That's
up
my
front-
question.
Up front, the landlord always has to pay the bill.
Yeah, but is there a situation that you cannot force the tenant to pay for the bed bug, even though it was his fault?
Yes, and that would be that nothing determined whose fault it was. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you have a 4-unit complex and all the tenants are very close. They share common walls. One of them got bed bugs and now all 4 of them have bed bugs and you can't determine who started it. Then the landlord pays. No tenants pay because you can't pin it on one. You got it? If you can pin it on one, the chances of you being able to charge for those expenses are high. Even in Larceau, you may be able to charge them when they vacate. Not while they're living there, but when they vacate. And take it out of the deposit money. Make sense?
Yes, thank you, Patty.
No problem. So that's something you need to check with your legal counsel on what you can do and when you can do it. But for the most part, I know in Larceau, and I don't have this property anymore, but the attorney would tell me, just put it on their ledger. And that tells me that they owe it when they vacate. Putting it on their ledger tells me that I can take it out of their deposit when it's done and over with. But yes, I am that person. I have evicted people for odd things. So if you have something that is challenging you and everybody tells you no, run it past me. I may have a plan of action for you. You never know. All right, you guys, I can't sit in this room anymore. I am literally Patty melting. All right, you guys have a great week. If you need me, hunt me down. You know how to find me. We will be back next Wednesday, as regularly scheduled on the same bat channel at the same bat time. Bye, you guys have a great week. Stay safe. And remember, humans in general are pretty crazy. Bye.